is our centerpiece headliner. Can we get a whoop for Deep Cover? I just want to thank our partners at Prime Video for allowing us to be the very first festival and you to be the very first people in the world to experience this incredible and hilarious film. And it's such a thrill, and I have to do a little bit of housekeeping, so bear with me. Since you're the very first people to watch the film, there is an embargo on reviews and reactions that will lift as soon as the screening is over, so please do share your thoughts, your opinions, often positive, after tonight's screening using the hashtag DeepCover. And I just want to thank you and congratulate you, because out of the hundreds of events, literally hundreds of events that are going on at South by London right now, you have all made the absolute correct life decision to come to our tonight to experience Deep Cover with us.
Wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It is an honor to be on stage with these three brilliant actors. They are so funny together. They have an amazing comic energy, and they're all playing characters quite different to how you normally see them. So I'm, really glad that we get to share that tonight. This is an action comedy, but it's made with a budget that's a fraction of most action comedies. To be here in such an incredible venue with a massive crowd is more than we ever hoped for. But it is a big room. The speakers are going to be loud. Please, if you are laughing, laugh loudly. We want to show America that British audiences are not quiet and reserved. You may think you're respecting the art. Don't respect the art. Please just laugh loudly. This is a very fun movie, and I think you'll love it. Thank you, Kingsley. And the stars of Deep Cover, Bryce. And Mohammed. Congratulations to a lot of you. What an incredible achievement. First of all, I wanted to ask you, just in general, this is the world premiere. It's the first time you're seeing it with an audience. What did it feel like? A relief. Thank you very much for laughing. We were hoping it would be funny, but we didn't know.
Pay you all later. Cash is coming.
And Colin, I wanted to start with you because I believe the original idea for Deep Cover started with you way back in 2011?
Yeah, 2010 was actually before our first film, Safety Not Guaranteed, which was at South by Southwest about a long time ago, 13 years ago. We had heard about New York City cops hiring actors, just go and buy fake bags on the street, and so we asked ourselves, well, what if those were improv comics, and then what if you were really committed improv comics, and how deep could they go? And we had that script had been set up with Walter Parkes and Laurie McDonald, and then a long time passed, and then I moved here. I've lived in London for almost 9 years now, and I watched Tom's show Staff Let's Flats, which is brilliant, and then Ben and Alex, who have this improv duo called The Pin, Ben and Alex Nash and Owen, and they're just so brilliantly funny and different and fresh, and so I asked all of them, can we do this here in London, and just find a new approach to it, and they wrote a beautiful script, a brilliant script, and this guy directed a killer movie, and here we are.
A little bit in the introduction, there's this real great balance between action and comedy. Tell me a little bit about, was it ever more comedy or more action? How did you find that balance?
I think maybe it started more as a comedy straight up, and as we went on and the movie got bigger and bigger stars joined us, we had the ambition and the finance to do a bit more action. It grew basically. I think this started as a much smaller movie, and partly through Colin's vision of pushing it to be bigger and bigger, it's become, it's a great balance of the two.
And Bryce, I wanted to ask you, because the on-screen dynamic and the chemistry between the three of you is just so funny and so electric. Tell me a little bit about how you built that on set.
I mean, honestly, it's the nature of the script and the vibe that Tom set, and we all just genuinely get along. I mean, I think we're all kind of at similar stages in our lives, and we've got kids, and we're all obsessed with our kids, and so we connect over that. But it was honestly, it was kind of just fantastic, you know, in a way. This is a story about new adult friendship, you know, something that we all perhaps yearn for, we all dread a little bit, but it was very relatable in that sense. And I think for all of us, you know, we didn't really know each other prior to this, and now we're all friends, and so it's wonderful.
I mean, I almost want to ask if there's a group chat. Is there a group chat?
Yeah, there is.
The name of our group chat is Bonnie Roach and Squire.
It's the best thing that's been said so far. And Orlando, I wanted to ask you, you send up the idea of a method actor so brilliantly. It's hilarious. Was that from the script, or was that your contribution?
You're so good in this, Orlando. I
mean, it was so brilliantly executed by the writers. It was just like acting made easy by numbers. Actually, I was still quite intimidated by the idea of trying to land it, the tone of it, but it was so cleverly written. And on set, you know, we had both Ace, Alex, and Ben, who, you know, along with Tom, you know, would work if there was a way to like elevate the moment or rephrase something to make it kind of land. So it was really just, when you read the script for the first time, it was like, no brainer, you know, like take myself too seriously. Okay.
That's the joy, is that you don't take yourself too seriously, but others might think that if they were in your position with your face, that they might take themselves seriously. That's why we all have to.
And we had like the best, I mean, we did have the best time together, the three of us. I mean, this one is just like an angel on set, knows how to take care of everyone, make sure everyone's safe and surviving this insanity that is our work. And he has just got funny bones, so it's like literally cracking up on set. We did, I think it was written in there, but thankfully we all just genuinely got along and could, you know, the camaraderie was there and it was what worked.
And it's completely palpable on the screen as well. And Nick, I wanted to ask you, because you're very well known in the comedy scene, and what was it like for you to step into the action space?
Overwhelming. I mean, I'm such a fan of, you know, action films and, you know, big blockbuster hits and stuff, and, you know, to get to kind of work with these people who are kind of proper Hollywood certified, you know, movie stars, it was just mad, really. But they're so warm and generous and brilliant, and, you know, obviously with Tom and Colin and Ben and Alex as well, we just had an absolute blast, really. They just sort of made it very easy. But I think that's why the film kind of works so well, is it does manage to balance those two things, comedy and action, and it's such a delicate dance, I think, to get that right. But the script was just fantastic, so yeah.
I mean, the joy was that we were really on Nick's turf. You know, being you know, Orlando and I are actors, and Nick is also an actor, but he is a genuine comedian. And that's very specific, and this movie really required it. And your history, obviously, with Ben and Ace and with Tom as well, just really kind of, it felt all so British, you know, and hilarious.
But we had Colin's flair.
Yes, we had Colin's razzle dazzle for sure, and it expanded the scope of the film dramatically, and yet also very efficiently. The movie feels really big, but it was made independently here in London. and at an impressive price point, which I will not list because that is not allowed.
You got a bargain, guys.
Yeah, Amazon did.
And actually, Colin, on that point, you mentioned it's produced completely independently. Tell us about that.
It's not easy. I mean, we're at a time when getting films financed is harder and harder, and luckily Amazon came in and offered us distribution, and now we have billboards of this film in all of these cities, and it was made for far less than whatever number you're thinking. And it happened because of our crew, most of whom are here. Can I hear everybody who's here? Like a lot. Yeah. I've been very fortunate to work with British film crews for many years now, as Bryce, and so as guests here. I just couldn't be more grateful that everybody came together and made this thing so efficient and fast and tight and professional for what we did it for. So I would just say, I know I'm not completely a part of the British film community, but thank you for welcoming me in this context and welcoming this film. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You have your 10,000 hours of British time.
I've done it.
You've definitely earned your 10,000 hours.
Some improv, but I would say that it's a really tightly worked out script. Like it kind of goes at a mile a minute. Like it's really intricately constructed. And so, though we did do improv, it wasn't often that it would make it into the movie because it would kind of, it would kind of slow the pace down. But one of my favorite improv scenes was the climax of the movie when they're in the surveillance van and we had Ben and Alex literally watching the footage that we'd already recorded of the kind of stakeout and like riffing on that as great comedians and the writers of the movie, so they could land improv that was just perfectly on story. Some of that stuff, like the cheeky fucker's got 2 guns. I think I went in on the last day of the edit when we did the scour, like, wait, is there any more?
What about for you guys?
Yeah, I think you've answered it. It was so tight. I think you probably had more of a riff on the...
Yeah, I dicked around a bit. But it was just so tight. And look, it was an intense shoot, and I think we knew, that we were doing this film on a tight budget, really. So I think that, once we got something, we were moving straight on to the next thing, really. But yeah, there was always time to play a little bit, but the script certainly didn't demand it. It was all there.
Yeah, it was sort of ideal in that way because it's always, when you have a script that tight, going in, okay, we're going to shoot this or something better. Step in and be the puppet. It was a very collaborative, organic process, and so improv was used as a way for us to sort of get into the scene. And like Tom said, ultimately, the pace of this film is so propulsive and dynamic, and the moments where you slow down, it's very intentional. And sometimes when, actors are improvising. I just landed from LA this morning. And so when they're doing that thing I can't pronounce, it can get a little unwieldy. And so I think just for Tom, you were very, very discerning in the edit. I know that you worked with, obviously your DP and your editor who you've worked with for a long time. And that to me was so impressive because I recognize, dozens of moments that were discovered on the day, and yet it's feeding into what Ben and Alex have so carefully constructed. And so it's thrilling. It's sort of the best of all worlds.
I think it's just worth mentioning really quickly a shout out to both Will Hankey, our cinematographer, who had not shot a feature film, to my understanding, had not shot a feature film. Is that right? I will have not.
No.
But like,
Yes, that's right.
Will, I don't want to
Great.
misrepresent, but
Yes.
Either his first or very
first
early
big
days.
movie.
Yeah. And Mark Williams.
Well done, Will.
Yeah, amazing. And our editor, Mark Williams, who I maybe not has, I know he's done a lot of television, but my point with both of them is that it was very important to me that Tom had his guys, like people he'd worked with before, and Will, Staff Let's Flats, and all of the shows that Tom's been involved with. That's where he made these relationships, and I think especially when it comes to directors in early days, like with their films, instead of giving them people who you're forcing upon them, you're going to get something new and fresh if you let them bring their people to the table. And I think what you're seeing is a result of a group that came to the table here that Tom brought, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, and yeah, that's great producing. Thanks, Colin. Yeah, because not many people would have seen Statler's Flats and be like, we need the director, editor, and cinematographer of that to make this movie. But it works.
Wait, how many BAFTAs do you have?
Oh, just one.
Just
How many times have you been nominated?
More, yeah, six.
Yeah, he was a short one.